Always plenty happening here in SuperCoach and the NBL, and as always, we're here on the panel to discuss all the big questions and the points from the round. Is Kendrick Davis the highest priced player? Is Nathan Sobey all of a sudden reliable? And well, we'll talk about the teams who are coming up into their doubles. What do you do with Bryce? I'm Kelsey Brown. We're here for the panel, your official SuperCoach NBL show. I am one of the 28% of coaches who have retained Rocco Zikarsky, so I'm going to need to make some changes this week. And that's why it's always great that we're joined by the experts, none other than James Clements, basketball SuperCoach wizard. JC, is Kendrick the highest priced SuperCoach player that you've seen?
Well, yes, because technically he is. He's the first man to hit 500k. So we've got KB here. KD is absolutely crushing it. I know which one I'd rather on my SuperCoach team, with all respect, Kels. But KD tops 500. If you didn't get on him last week, if you're like your old mate Jim over here and you sort of maybe screwed the pooch a little bit, because he's going to be very, very tough to get to. The thing is, with KD, Kendrick Davis getting to 500k, first one to do it. We're about to see the second one do it next week as well with Bryce Cotton. So
right.
Exciting times in SuperCoach land.
It is exciting times, and no other person better to discuss it than Mick Randall, basketball hoops writer for News Corp. Mick, welcome to the show. Again, we love having you here. I want to know your insights on Bryce and what you would do with him. I think you are a Bryce owner, am I right?
Yeah, I held Bryce last week and had an animated discussion on Twitter about the virtues of keeping him versus trading him to KD, and I think it ended up being the number 73 was the magic number, and I think he got 66. But you know, I reckon there was 200 in the 2 weeks before that we got when Kendrick didn't play. So I'd say I came out on top by holding Bryce, and I think his break even's about 16. So like James said, he's going to just keep skyrocketing, and he'll probably have another 70 this weekend, and we'll be happy.
Love. Yeah, that is the big question for me as a rookie. I have Parker Jackson Cartwright at the moment. I would love to get KD. I would love to get Bryce. I want all of these guards around. Those three are all in our hot list. Parker, Bryce, and Nathan Sobey is another one, another guard that I want to talk about. We've talked about him maybe being a little bit unreliable. He's gone off the last couple of weeks, got them over the line in the throwdown. JC, what do you think about Sobes?
I believe that my 5-year-old is now enamored with Nathan Sobey. And
so is my mum.
I'm like, dude, now I'm going to trade him in. What are you doing? You're breaking my heart. No, look, he was incredible on Sunday against United. And this is like one of those matchups you go, whoa, it's really tough for guards against United. And Sobey did not care. He was absolutely unreal. He ends up with 98 across the round last week. Absolutely stunning. If you captain him, like that is, you're the smartest person in the room. As simple as that. It wasn't me, BT Dubs, because I didn't have him. But Sobey's, look, I think he's settling into his role under Josh King. Phoenix look like, now they've got DeWalt back as well. He looked really, really good, BT Dubs as well. And I feel like they're sort of just hitting a nice little patch. The problem is they go on another run of single games. And the thing is, you also have Bryce going on another single. So the big question is going to be whether or not you hold Bryce if you have him, but you're not going to bring him in because they just have this run of singles. So Kendrick Davis is your go-to man from here on out, right? They've got this awesome run, 6 doubles in 7 weeks, do the sixes. So there you guys. And the big question this week will be Trez, Davis, how do you get them in? And whether or not you keep Bryce.
Mick, I want to hear about the knots for you. On the not list, we've got Cam Oliver, which I'm pretty sure you've got Space Cam at the moment. He had 3 this round. He had a couple of great weeks and then not a great one this one. Lockie Ulbrich, I think, is the interesting one. He had 6. There's a number, I think 31% of coaches still have Lockie Ulbrich, and we don't know where that number sort of sits going into the round. But you spoke about the Hawks. They're coming into 5 doubles. Is Lockie Ulbrich someone that you're keeping on the not list?
Yeah, Lockie's an interesting one. I think that he's been productive in limited minutes because they have such a great front court, right? And with the change to Days going to the bench and Mason Peatling coming in as kind of that connective kind of force for them that's really spurred them. And then obviously Froling's dominant. There's only a little bit of time for Lockie, but whenever he gets in, he's always very productive. I think there was a game where he had 21 points in 13 minutes or something like that. And he's not that expensive, so I think there's areas where teams need to upgrade more and you can make more points elsewhere. So it's like, if you're still on Lockie, you may as well keep riding him because they've got all these doubles. And then obviously the Cam Oliver roller coaster that I've been on all season. I reckon every week I've traded Cam Oliver and then I've sat there and looked at my trades and gone, no, Cam, come back. You're going to come good. You're going to come good. I think, did he give me a 3 on the weekend? Thanks, Cam. But he'll give me a 90. He's got a 90 in him on the double this weekend. I can feel it.
That's it. It's like Space Cam. He's got more ups and downs than Space Mountain at this point. So it's Space Mountain Cam, and away we go. Like, that is absolute chaos. Like, I think this week especially, in the not list, we've got Lachlan Albrook and, of course, Darius Days. This Hawks front court is fascinating because they've got this run of 5 doubles, as you mentioned, Kels. And, like, you can make a case for all of them, I think, to sort of, if you've got them, you're holding them. If you don't have them, you can probably bring whichever one you like the most, whichever one you feel like has got the best sort of matchup. And like with the Kings having another double this week, you may as well just keep Cam, because who knows, as you say, Mick, like he might just pop off and drop another like 104, and you're like, oh, of course he did.
Talking about that Hawks front court, like I watched Froling up close on Friday night.
Well, you're big on putting him in this week, aren't you?
Well, he was unbelievable against United. Like one-on-one, he absolutely murdered everyone in front of him. And I'm like, if he's producing like that, and the floor is still high, like, you know, like he'll get you 25 just by stepping on the floor, and then if you can get your double-double, it goes up from there.
Yeah, he gets 25 just for his man bun.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, big, fittest, you know, he's the fittest guy, fittest centre in the league, so... But I'm still a big buyer on Mason Peatling. I think, like, the role is there. He makes no mistakes. He's going to get you 10 to 20 every time he goes out there with all the hustle stuff that he does, the rebounding, blocking and steals. So 140K, I think he is. Like, if you need someone cheap and you need a forward that has a role that's going to just sit on your bench and just accumulate, make the money there if you need to get a Trez or a KD.
Yeah, Peatling's loaded on my bench already. I'm happy with that. He's going to stay there for the next month and a half.
Lucky you guys. Well, you've heard it here. Everyone is on the Hawks in this list here. But let's get to a shout out to, we've got Tango Sierra for Troy, 514, Sobey as captain, PJC as vice. Sobey
as captain. That's brilliant.
There's so many people that have Sobey, PJC, Cotton as the 3 guards. West is best for Jess, 506. Sobey as captain again. These people are smarter than us. They should be on the show next week, maybe.
It's really not hard at this point.
Hutto for Mitch, 494. Got 30 plus from Flynn, Cameron and Lopez on the bench. Like, these are just outlandish trades, but impressive nonetheless. And Scows is United for Daniel, 493. He had Lowe, who scored 51, and Cook, 61 on the bench. That is wild. So shout out to those guys. Well done. I think I need to take some tips. Let's get to the most traded in. Montrezl Harrell, no surprises. 21.5% of coaches have traded him in. Sam Froling, your guy, he's on our list. Xavier Cooks. Tohi Smith-Milner is on the most traded in list.
What a world.
JC, can we talk about him?
I mean, if you want to.
One of the best trash talkers in the league, Tohi.
He's great. I love a good loudmouth, don't get me wrong. But at 99K, like, to be honest, 5.8% of coaches can't be wrong. I'm all here for it, like, because you got this run for him. He should be fine. Like, Brisbane, again, they're just SuperCoach roll gold because of all the doubles. But the same thing sort of goes for, like, the most Australian this week is like, all right, cool. All the other names are fine, but you have to have, I think, this week coming in either one of Kendrick Davis or Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Like, all the other names are like, that's cool, it's kind of neat, but you got to have one of those two to basically stay in contention, whether it be in your leagues, whether it be overall ranking, stuff like that. Because, like, I'm in the annoying position where I can't get Kendrick Davis. I'm going to hold Bryce for one more week to get that price rise out of him. I'm going to trade out, a couple of my front courts guys, but to get Trez in, I think that's just, he's absolutely on a rampage, right? Like, so I want him in my team ASAP. He's like taking a little bit of a dip. So I think he's very clearly my number one target. Davis at 528K, it's just so hard to get to that number.
Absolutely.
So I think hopefully if he doesn't hit his break even next week, maybe just we take a little bit off the top there. Bryce gets his and away we go. We can do a bit of a swap. But outside of this, I mean, it gets pretty hard pretty quick, doesn't it?
This coming from the man that was on the KD train
from day one.
Day one. And now he's right off. He's like, nah, sorry, KD, I'm on Bryce.
Yep.
Let me just talk about Tohi, right, with a little bit of info out of Brisbane. Now, Schuler loves Tohi, right? He's a Schuler type guy, okay? But Jared Bairstow is going to have ankle surgery and he's going to miss the rest of the season. So the Bullets will look to replace him, but I don't think that's going to be something that happens quick. So whatever minutes Bairstow was playing, and Tohi had a small role, like, he'll obviously eat those minutes as well. And I think with Bannon probably coming back, he comes back off the bench and will probably play his minutes alongside Torhi. So, look, Torhi might be a Mason Peatling light for a few weeks that gives you 10 to 20 if you're lucky. Was really good late in the win over South East Melbourne. He was brilliant.
Yeah. It was
I think
awesome.
he got one on his Kiwi compatriot.
Nice. Well, I think the setup here is like you're trying to figure out, right, if you can go one up, one down, Tohi's an interesting case because he is that cheap at 99k. He's going to make you money. That's fine. A lot of people, though, I think we've gotten to a point where we have a lot of cash sort of sitting there in players and we're trying to like target the players on the doubles. And I think that's sort of like, we're talking about Brisbane. I mean, Casey Prather becomes a really interesting case he's at 335k or something like that. So I have already sort of had this back and forth already of like, I can get Trez and Prather in laughing. I'm now verging on not sort of bothering with Casey Prather just for the simple fact I'm probably going to bring in Froling because he's the higher floor, as we talked about, 25 points for a man bun and away we go. Whereas Prather, you do have at least like, if he's not having a great game, it's like the ancillary stats aren't quite there and he can give you a 14 and you're like, oh my God, disaster. Whereas Froling, it feels a little bit safer. Supercoach isn't usually great for safe, but Froling on the double this week, I feel okay about it, especially with some of their ones coming up. But, I mean, that's why he's number 2 on the most traded in.
Mick, I love when you drop some information on this podcast. It's my favourite time of the week. Let's get to most traded out. Jack White sits at the top of this list, 26%. He is at 356,600. What do you think about this one?
Oh, my man, Jack. I love that man. But he struggled on the weekend.
Yeah.
It almost looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, which he probably did because with Chris Golding out, with Marcus Lee out, he got asked to do so much in those 2 games. And he didn't produce for super coaches. He's going to be on a single and you've got to trade him out to get someone on a double, a Montrez in or a Froling.
It's a straight swap for Trez almost like, well, not straight swap, but there's like a 75k sort of difference, but you can build to that, right? And like, I mean, Jack obviously got stymied by 2 quick early fouls on Sunday and it was like really brutal for super coaches and United fans, obviously, but yeah, they go on the run in singles. You can jump off him now and sort of see how it goes. What
about for you guys? Let's get to making moves. Who are you captaining? What are the big moves that you're making? We've talked about a few of them, but any that we haven't touched on? JC?
Well, this really is almost like a personal preference thing for me. I think the Casey Prather versus Sam Froling trade for me, because I'm moving off Matt Hurt and Jack White this week. I don't really want to. Like, Matt Hurt was fantastic on the weekend, but they do have a single. Jack White's got the single as well, so my entire strategy has been to go, right, we've got these guys, we can jump off them when they have the singles onto the dudes with doubles. And so it simply comes down to Froling versus Prather for me, because Trez is a lock and load. Keep Bryce for one more week, ride that price rise, try to turn him into Kendrick Davis next week. But yeah, I think it'll be Froling in the end. I just like those matchups. They play Sydney on Christmas Day. Sydney's size, I don't think bothers Sam Froling at all because he's just like, there's no one my size, so this is great. And I think their other game might be Perth at home. So I feel like that's a pretty good set of matchups there for me. So it'll probably be Sam Froling and Trez in for Jack White and Matt Hurt.
So no KD. Who are you going to captain?
The captain will probably go to Trez because I feel like that, talk about upside, like Froling, we talk about that sort of floor. Tyrell Harrison maybe, but I really don't mind Trez just going, hey, check this out. Here's a triple double in your head, and off we go. So
yeah, he was unbelievable on the weekend. I do want to just quickly touch on there are a few teams, 6 of them in fact, playing doubles. So New Zealand breakers, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Illawarra and Tassie. Mick, what are your moves?
Well, one of those interesting ones was the PJC argument, right? I mean, he only had 64 last week, and we say only. If you get 32 and 32 on, in 2 games, you're right in the elite areas of Supercoach. But because he's been so good, we kind of look at that and go, oh, do we jump off him and keep Bryce? Like it's
PJC dropped 27k last week with that 64, and now his break even for next week is 84 as well. And their matchups are against Sydney and Tassie. Not exactly, I think,
2 best defensive teams in the NBL.
Exactly. So it's going to be pretty hard. And like the PJC
I'm
conversation,
tearing over here.
The PJC conversation is there. They are still on the double. There should be an okay amount of scoring coming from him, but I mean, obviously, I feel like he's going to score me more points probably than Hurt and White on a single, so I'm going to trade those guys out before him. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a bit of an interesting one because I've got 300,000 in the bank because I was really trying to bank for this week, and I was probably, getting on my high horse when people were telling me don't keep Bryce and get rid of KD. So I was like, all right, we're going to set ourselves up here. So I can get anyone I want, 2 guys that I want. So I can get Trez and KD if I want. It would mean that I have to have Windler on the court. Now, I'm a Windler believer, right? Especially with Doolittle out. I think he's the guy that's lifted a bit for them. I think he had 44 on the weekend. The three-point shot, the beautiful lefty, looks better and better every game. I think he's stepping up. So do I trust him on a single in one of my forward spots if it means that I can have Montrez and KD? To be decided, but I'll definitely be getting KD. Davis has got to come in for me, and then it's out of Montrez, Froling, and I think Cooks. I reckon we forget how good Cooks is, both as a player in the league and as a player in SuperCoach. I mean, he's kind of I feel like he's the guy on a single that gets you 50. You're just you're on a single, keep Cooks, he give you 50.
Exactly. There is a case where you look at some of the top 5 scorers, if you just trade them in at any point, just keep them.
Just sit them on there.
They just keep rolling out the points. And Cooks, I think 14K short of bringing in Cooks as well as Trez. And
Find the money.
Breaking my heart. Well, I'll have to borrow some of your 300K.
I was going to say.
Jeez, bloke's getting paid in SuperCoach bucks. But, I mean, you look at Adelaide's schedule as well this weekend. They've got Brisbane and Sent, right? So Southeast Melbourne and Brisbane. I feel like Adelaide should have 2 massive games. Trez and Davis. The scoring is right there, and I think that's why the Trez captaincy. What about you, Mick? Who are you going to put the C on?
I think it's Trez and KD are the 2, right? If I decide on Cooks, I am leaning that way. I might look at him as well.
Nice.
Well, maybe Cooks is the only one that I have stayed on the whole time and made great decisions around. As always, I probably leave here with more things to decide than I came in with. But as always, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Your advice, your tips are great. We love having you here. For you at home, don't forget to go to www.supercoach.com.au for all of your SuperCoach needs. You spend some time tinkering there, undo changes. I'm going to definitely use my boost this week to even just, I think, score 300 at the least. But we love when you join us. Thank you so much for your company, and we'll see you next week to talk all things SuperCoach.